Yes.
Two things, actually, in mind, one we haven't touched yet. To answer your question, organizations, I think organizations like NOCCA, City Managers Association, can actually be the collective group that forces together and begins to get one thing, the focus. You talk about Pasquale and Akron, University of Akron, City of Akron, the Polymer Corridor. They have the focus.
Yeah.
We don't have that here. We need to go to that as soon as possible. The other question is, you didn't really think about population up there. One of the things that comes to mind, the biggest population boom we're going to have are the baby boomers as they come and so-called retire. Otto von Bismarck in the 1870s set up retirement to get rid of the people, his enemies, out of the Prussian parliament. There was no retirement before. The point is, the retired people do not need the benefits. They can take part-time jobs. You have expertise there. We have to look at what we're going to have here. We want to bring here, focus, as our population, which will entice employers to come.
Yes.
You can take, and that's why that's important to see what the blips are. If we're going to have a nice blip in here of retirees coming off, that's expertise. We can sell that with the non-benefit part of it.
Yes.
To a part-time setup for innovation, invention, and creation. And that's where I'm looking at. To me, I've said before, I was I2CE, invention, innovation, creation, education. That's the focus. Anything that hits that, you go for it. And I see that looking at the population boom, which you got to look at, and where can we get people from? Because one of the things that boomed us in the past had been immigrants.
Right.
Where are they going to come from? Where are they going to be? How are we going to accommodate them? And what are they just much about manufacturing? I haven't seen any U.S. company advertise this Christmas, and I think it's a shame we haven't. Made in the USA, it costs a little more, but it's damn lead free.
Yeah. It's a great point.
Think about that.
Well, there is, by the way, a Buy Ohio campaign that maybe we ought to
advertise with that buy lead free.
Right.
Grandparents are the ones who buy the big toys.
It's a great point. A great point. And your point about retirees and such coming into the workforce, we need to be very creative about expanding the work. Yes.
You look at you got to get the plot.
Yeah.
People need to see that.
Right.
What these groups are going to be there, and retirees are not going to sit by.
See, by the way, and we'll get to your point, this idea of looking and understanding our workforce and what is the workforce in your community and the demographics of your community. I mean, we're looking at it across the region, but how it plays out locally. One of the things we've discovered in philanthropy is that as philanthropists, we all love kids, right? And so we put a lot of money towards the kids, and that's a great thing to do. But if you think about it in pure economic development terms, over 80% of the 2020 workforce is in the workforce today. And as wonderful as those people are, they're underskilled. And we put way too little energy as a philanthropic community into the professional development, or not professional development, but workforce development and things of this sort. So in this point of what do we do with retirees, what do we do with the underskilled, how do we create the incentives, is huge. And so what's happening in your community? And people, we go and speak with Rotary clubs and chambers and they say, well, what can I do? Can your community put together 15 internships? That's easy enough to do, right? Can you get 15 companies to take an intern? Because people say, well, I can't get experienced people. Well, how do they get experience? Get them an internship. It's the one thing we know works. And every single Rotary Club and Chamber of Commerce could do that. Anyway, you had a point now?
Yeah, in my community, we have the largest manufacturer of freeze-dried injectables in the world.
Who's that?
Benvenue.
Oh, yeah.
And they have job openings all the time. But guess what? There is no labor force for it.
Yes.
Now, you look at our universities that are in the area, with the exception of the University of Akron, which has started gearing themselves to what's going on in Akron, the universities up here are still training the same normal programs that they've been doing for the last 100 years, which, by the way, none of those jobs are in this area anymore. Right. So, of course, the brain drain, they just go to where those jobs are. Instead of gearing themselves, and I know Steve and I have talked about this before too, working with some of these companies to find out exactly what they're looking for, what they need, and then start structuring themselves to it. And, let's try to keep some of our people here with the jobs that are here, because the jobs are here, they just...
There's a wonderful initiative that's getting started, and just stick it in the back of your mind because you're going to be hearing a lot about it. It's called the Regional Talent Network, and it builds off a state of Ohio program called the Ohio Skills Bank, and it's intended to get exactly at this issue of trying to make sure that our education and workforce system is actually driven off employer needs as opposed to what the factory wants to produce, meaning the factory meaning the university. And this is an effort it's being led by business people that is going out and looking at what are the growing professions and then trying to make sure the market flows, information flows work better, and we have the pathways to get there. Now, it's a huge undertaking, but it's pretty encouraging to see, and maybe we need to get you involved in it.
Well, like I said, Benvenue is stuck training all their own people.
Yeah,
because there's nothing around
we spend
to do it.
tens, if not hundreds of millions on public workforce systems, and yet companies are doing workarounds.